We're finally live. Whoa, what? That was an interesting adventure we had before. Let's cut the sound. Good afternoon, people, I guess. Morning, evening, wherever you are. I did check the time slots, by the way. I believe it's roughly like evening somewhere in like Europe, and I think early morning in the US, or other way around or something. But hello, people. Now, of course, for those who are confused, this was originally slotted to be live like 3 hours ago. That was a miscommunication. That was in fact the dress rehearsal. By dress rehearsal, I meant that I streamed the entire 1 hour coaching live stream, and I didn't hit the live button. So I was literally here looking at this zero viewer like live stream going, oh, why is nobody watching me? It's like when you film a whole video and you realize you haven't plugged the microphone in, or you've taken photos and the lens cap is on. So I felt like an ass. I've been pretty sick. If those been following my my social media, I've been pretty sick the last few weeks. So my head's not quite in the right place. Haven't streamed for like 6 months or something, or a year. We originally actually planned a live stream back in January, but I had some pretty major internet issues. We got to fix up a few months ago, so we kind of caught up there. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, so it's PM in the US, it's AM in EU, and it's like afternoon in Australia, sometime in the future. So this is not the usual time slot we normally do, but we picked the right spot. Well, I could. I'm still recovering from illness. I've got a pretty major swollen ankle, gout, for those who don't know. It's like having giant needles stabbed in your ankle. It's been flaring out recently, and unfortunately it's something to contend with. I've been out to archery for a bit, so I've been doing quite a bit of coaching, so I'm in the zone for coaching. Unfortunately, I did all the demonstrations in my dead stream, which I didn't record, but luckily I did take notes, so I've got all my notes here. And this is going to be the more clean run. So we've got 5 people who submitted videos for analysis, and I've got notes down for all these videos. And of course, as we're going through, feel free to add comments, questions in the live chat. For those who don't know what this is about, this is our form check, our live coaching. This is something we used to do monthly or bi-monthly. It's been a while now, but basically people send in videos of them shooting for our commentary and analysis. We're here to learn from each other. Doesn't matter if you're shooting traditional or recurve or Asiatic. Doesn't matter if you're beginner or you're an expert. We're here to give kind of learn from each other. A lot of things that we do mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes, and we learn what people do well, what people need to improve on, and of course it benefits us as archers as well as coaches. It's nice to reinforce how we teach people as well. So I've got 5 people lined up. We'll do this in order, and hopefully, if I remember, I'll segment each of the videos in post, so that way you can skip to the particular person. I do want to start by doing a shirt out. We used to do shirt outs where people send in merchandise or their club jerseys. I actually have a whole video about this. I am at some point plan to do a tier list of my favorite archery jerseys, but today I'm wearing one I haven't worn for a while. This is from South Leeds Archers. I think it's more obvious in the back there, so that's today's shirt out. I think one day I might reopen that and do a whole new launch of the shirt outs rather. And that way we have a bit of representation from clubs in the world. So for those who are here live, welcome, of course. Check in where you are, by the way, like where you're from. It's nice to know what our reach is. I know people from all around the world watch these videos and benefit from the sport of archery. We're here, of course, to serve the community, so it's great to see that people are checking in. If you're checking in long afterwards, feel free to add your your name to the comments below. Say hi, say you're here, and if you want to be involved in this, I do announce when I'm doing live streams when I can on social media, on the channel, or or on my normally Facebook is where I do it, and you can send in videos. So that's happening now. If, by the way, for some reason you actually have a video like right now which you want to send in, send it to my email address. It's nu.sensei.archery at gmail.com. There's a link on my YouTube channel, or someone can paste it in chat if someone asks, and we can do a live like review right now, but we'll do it at the end. So let's go through our letters. So we have one booted up already. This is, let's get the screen over. So this is, well, it's esnevip. I know your screen name. James, is it? Sorry, I met you literally once when you came to my club. We did a nice coaching session, but I mixed everyone up in my club. I've got James and John and James and John. So I'm sorry I got your name wrong. But Goku here has been shooting for quite a few months now. We had quite a good session together talking through fundamentals. So there's been a lot of really good improvements. There are a lot of good things happening in this shot sequence, and I'll explain a few things that he's doing as well as some areas of improvement. So let's have a watch. We'll watch a few shots and then we'll break it down. Okay, there's about like 6 more, so we'll do a couple. We'll see some of the shots later on. So let's examine what's going on here. So first of all, wondering, that is a negator. He is a man of the beard, and it's quite an explosive beard, like Santa Claus level. So it does get in the way of shooting, unfortunately. If you have a beard, and those who do have beards, let me know in the chat. I don't really have one. But it does interfere. The string catches on. It does tend to buzz your hair and kind of burn it a bit. So unfortunately, there's no way around it. Unless you shave it off, then the only thing you do is kind of like cover it up somehow. So this is a solution. Now, for those who have been shooting during the pandemic, you might know if you shot through it with a mask on, it makes it really hard to get a contact point with a mask on. A gator is no different, so this can be quite tough. I wouldn't really recommend this unless you really have to, because it makes it really hard to be consistent. That said, though, what it does have is a kisser button on the nose. So if you don't know, a kisser button is like a plastic ring which you put on the string. Used to be a lot more common about 15-20 years ago. Some archers still use it today, but it's kind of been made redundant. But it's basically a plastic button. It normally touches the lips, hence why it's called a kisser. You would put it between your lips when you reach full draw, so it acts as a reference point. He's got one on his nose, which is pretty cool. It solves the problem, so that's nice. That's pretty cool. So what are we going to look at? So what I do like is his expansion. At least the first few shots. The later ones we'll see it does show a bit of fatigue, so it's not as strong. But his shot process shows confident determination. And something which I'll talk a lot about. There'll be 2 themes in this set of analyses. One is mental determination. The second one is back tension. I guess something these 2 things are always in archery, but particularly in this video, those 2 things. So he is in the zone. First, he's wearing headphones. I don't like wearing headphones when I'm shooting because I want to be aware of what's around me. But it's a great way to zone in. So he's in the shot, he's paying attention to everything he does, and he's determined to shoot a good shot. And this is going a long way. We'll see some variations later on. So he's in the zone, and he has a good tempo. He's paying attention to his draw, his anchor, but particularly here we see from this angle you'll see excellent back tension. So everything is lined up really well. Yes, by the way, those are feathered fletchers, very popular indoors because for those wondering, the larger feathered fletchers will correct its flight faster. It has more drag, which means at long distance it's very punishing, but it corrects faster, which means that at short distance, particularly indoor, this is an 80-meter or 20-yard indoor range, which a lot of shooters will switch from small plastic vanes to the feathers because of the larger diameter. Or size rather. So yeah, what we see here is very good alignment. Okay, the arm is, I think you used to have a problem with the arm being too high, or was it low? I don't know which one it was. But his elbow position now is quite good. What I'm looking for when I see alignment is, if you draw a line through the forearm, does it connect to the grip? Now this one's a little high, just a little. It might not matter that much. Ideally, the pressure point is here. That's the thumb. All right. So the base of the thumb, the meaty part of the thumb, is where the pressure point is. So for optimal alignment, you want to have a straight line from here through to your elbow. So it's a little high, but it's still a very good posture. You can see, however, his tension is good. We'll see a top view later, but the back tension is fully engaged in this video, and that shows us that when he clicks, when the click goes off, he'll expand, he'll pull, click goes off, and he explodes. It's a surprise release. He's programmed his brain well to execute the shot as soon as it goes off. There's no hesitation. Excellent. So the first shot's probably a better one. I'll get back to that one. This one here. So he pulls, click, bang. That was very genuine. Okay, so people will think, oh, it's a bit sloppy, it's loose. Okay, but that is the point. The point is that it is a genuine shot and follow through. So the sequence is excellent. It goes the right way, which indicates he has the right motion prior to the release. That is a good explosive release. Now, there are a few small things to go through here. One is a bit of, I mean, the front arm and shoulder are okay. I feel it might be a little high. It's kind of popping up just a bit, and part of it is because of his arm. This elbow could be rotated a bit more. Now, this is a fairly natural position for most people. For those who shoot, let me get back to my screen here. So, when you hold a bow, most people will have this kind of elbow rotation, and that's okay. As long as it's not like that, all right? If it's that, that's a problem. But as long as you turn your wrist the right way, that's okay. Now, some people have really good elbows for archery where, like, you're turning that way, like almost like 90 degrees. You don't have to force yourself to do that. That's like, unnatural. But as long as you have the right wrist position, this is a strong elbow alignment. I feel that he is a little too much this way. And the problem with that is that it pushes the shoulder up slightly. So when we look at the footage here, what I'm a little concerned about is there's a slightly upward angle here. Now, what this does is it puts the load onto the more soft tissue on the rotator cuff on the shoulder. So if you feel that this is a little sore, this is the reason why. It's because it's slightly high. I will try and dip this shoulder just a bit more, and again I'll show it on my side. Is when we're shooting, try and dip that shoulder. So you see that the little V there? That's kind of what you want ideally. So it's like that, not ideal. You can still get a good shot and back tension with this, but you're putting pressure here. You feel it. If you are feeling it, let me know, because this is something which is a big clue here. So this is ideal. This not so much. This good. Again, the little dip there. Shoulder down. That means good alignment. This, not so much. So that's one thing. So I'm just taking my notes here. The second thing is the follow through. So we'll go back to our shot. So the follow through has a slightly outward motion. Okay, and that's not bad. It's better to kind of have this outward swing than inward swing. Inward swings normally indicate a collapse. Some archers do it, but there's a different reason why they do it. But the outward swing is generally okay. But it is something which is not consistent. And that can indicate that there's something in your process which isn't necessarily being repeated. We go to our next shot. As we go to our next shot, you'll see it start not following through and it'll start bumping his leg instead. You can see there's a bit of a shake going on here. So I think the fatigue is really showing. So we have like 2 or 3 really good shots, but then it starts breaking down. We'll talk more about this later on, but there's a bit of a shake. And then a bit of a limp follow through here, hits the leg. We go to our next shot. Over here. So again, you see the shake, leaky, and then it hits here. So these things inherently aren't bad, but they indicate that we're losing a bit of that direction of force. Now, on the worst case side, it might indicate that you're preempting it and you might be pulling it that way as you release. Now, that might not be the case. If you're shooting well and the arrows go straight, what the bow does after a shot doesn't really matter. It's more that, are you applying any kind of force before the shot? Are you expanding too much this way rather than pushing the bow forward? Because when the bow naturally follows through, it's because you are pushing forward. Okay, so if you imagine holding a bow, that when I'm trying to expand, I'm not expanding by going that way. I'm not trying to go expand like that. I'm actually going forward and getting this squeeze back in. So in the move hand, the backhand does this, so it's anchored, of course, but the motion of the expansion is this, while the front hand's holding the bow still and pushing forward. So it's that kind of squeeze of the shoulder blades here, and I'm pushing forward like that. It's not so much a like drawing, like opening blinds or something. It's actually more of that motion. And when you have the grip correct, that's the reason why when the bow falls out for most archers, it pops out and it swings that way. So it's like squeeze, expand, click, expand, click, and the bow normally swings in this way because you're pushing forward and letting the bow fall, and the weight will drag it down this way. If you're dragging it down this way, I used to do this a lot in my initial shooting, and it's a bit of a fault because I didn't really expand properly. I was trying to force it like that because my coach told me to. Most people now don't really do that. It's that forward push and you're allowed to swing. So that's something which might indicate a less optimal, more efficient way of expanding through the clicker. Other issues, let's have a look. Again, we mentioned fatigue before, so some of the later shots really show that fatigue. We get that. There is a slight head turn when we look at some of the shots. So, draw, very slight. Just watch out for that. These things slip very easily. Most of the time will be okay. I just want to note that if you do find your groupings to kind of have a horizontal shift, like, you know, if you go left and right a lot, it may be because of things like this, the head movement, which slightly changes the string picture between each shot, and the follow through may indicate that you're pulling the bow off. So there's a bit of torque, a bit of sideways motion. So if you do group left and right, that's one of the issues there. And yeah, we mentioned fatigue. The later shots get that leakiness. You can really see struggling with that shot there. That's fatigue. And I think the last shot's really quick. Yeah, so that's the example of fatigue right there. You can see his draw is getting weaker and very leaky. And then click, and that's not a good shot. Okay, it might hit the target, but that's probably the least happy shot, and he probably knows it too. So one of the general notes is, of course, you might be shooting 5, 6, or 6, maybe more arrows per end, but try to maintain the exact same mindset and form for every single shot. If you find yourself getting tired by your 5th or 6th shot, then you've undone like the 4 good shots you did before that. So just be mindful of that fatigue level. We'll do a quick view of his overhead shot. So he's positioned camera overhead, which is fantastic. We'll go straight to the shooting, and I want to demonstrate his shoulder line, his back tension. I think he's one of the better ones in this sequence we're doing. So it's a nice visual demonstration of what it looks like, especially from this angle. So let's zoom ahead here. Yeah, any moment now. There we go. Okay, so sorry, we're at full draw. It is like off center, but if you follow the arrow, the arm is almost perfectly in line. So this is a very happy coach vision here, right? So that's a very clear line from the arrow to the elbow. Could be even slightly more back if you were to push it, so you could go even further. But you can see that what happens is that's straight, elbows in line, disengages the back muscle here, the scapula, the shoulder blade pops out a bit on the movement, so this maintains a straight back. So if we see in motion, that's good. We see that shoulder blade come out there, that means we have good back engagement. There we go, that's all we need there. That one motion, look at the loading, load, not bad. That's pretty good. Okay, so it could be even squeezed a bit further, but that shows me good back tension. So for these good shots, they're very well engaged. I think the later ones are a bit leaky, which is why we had the leakiness before. Let's go and watch this. Sorry. Good, but yeah, that was a leaky shot. Okay, have a look again. So it's there. The back tension is there. It's not like he was losing back tension. He had back tension, but the shot wasn't as controlled as before. And we'll see the same thing, the follow through, how it works. It comes out, and then again, what the bow does after the shot doesn't matter. If it swings outwards, that's his way of flowing through. That's okay. Just be careful, because in the competition, there's normally someone next to you. You probably notice you're shooting indoor range. There's like literally 3 people next to you here. So if you do that, you're going to smack someone next to you. So that's probably the reason why, apart from being a little excessive in motion, you don't want to swing outwards. It's because you'll smack people next to you. But apart from that, good job. I've seen some really nice improvements here. A lot of really good things. Hopefully the small things will clarify your shot process. Whew, that's number 1 done. Obviously, this is the second time I've done this. I've rehearsed this before. This isn't the first time I'm going through these videos. So that's the first one. We'll bring up, who do I have here? M. Yes. M has been actually sending in videos for like years now. So this is like lots of progression. Let me bring it up on the browser in a moment. This is far from the first time. So of course we're seeing some repeat visitors, repeat offenders. Let's see how things are going. So we'll bring it back to the browser. And I'm just checking chat every now and then. So between each session, I'll look at questions if there's anything here. But of course, if you're not here to have the live feedback, then feel free to drop a comment below and add your thoughts. Okay, so let's look at M. We'll watch a few shots first, and then we'll give our feedback. Let's skip ahead. Okay, and we'll leave it there. So there's more shots, and we'll see a different angle later on. So the basics are pretty good here. So what I'm seeing is they have a good structure. Let's go full draw. Now, first glance here, the things are good here. Good grip, very good grip in fact. The fingers are off the string, the riser, so it's pointing down. Relaxed grip. It's a little high, I keep forgetting which one's which. Um, let me explain. Okay, so this is the that's a high grip, that's a low grip, right? I keep forgetting. Point is that like if you have this, you want more contact with the this portion of the riser. Okay, so you would normally have the your hand slightly raised, so it might be this, but something like this way. All right. So my tip is to when you're shooting Olympic recurve, pull the pinky finger back. So you have your grip here, but try and pull your pinky back a bit more, and that gives you that position. So when you put it on the grip, it sits. No, it sits more like that. Yeah, it sits like that. So instead of doing this, we have this angle. Let me try and squeeze in there. We have that angle. Try and get it back here, and the reason it doesn't feel like you're holding it, but when you have an actual bow, for example, and it's you're at full draw, this will sit into your thumb like that. It kind of pushes into your thumb. So you want that pressure point there. That's where you should be feeling it. If you're choking it by the throat, then that's kind of more pivoty. So you might move a lot more here, whereas this is a much stronger pressure point here. So I couldn't quite see it from that angle, but if you find yourself being a bit too delicate on the throat, then that might be the result, or the cause rather. Stance is good too, body posture is fine, I'm not going to be too picky here, but there is something which is a major area which I would examine if I was your coach, and that's your expansion, and this kind of goes back to things like your anchor point and your alignment. So watch what happens when you release. So this looks good so far, but when you get to anchor, it loses confidence. So watch the rest. So it's like a floaty, touchy anchor. Now we have reference points, of course, right? So we have an anchor point, but it's an uncertain one, and there's a reason for this. I'll explain why. But the indicator that something isn't quite feeling right is the follow through. Expand, click, follow through. The follow through is a dead follow through. The release is a dead release, or almost a dead release. It does go backwards, so it's dynamic, but the release, the follow through isn't genuine. What we normally expect is something a bit more dynamic and explosive, where the front arm is pushing forward, the bow does allow the swing, the backhand does come back behind the neck. Now this doesn't mean force it. Okay, this is something very important which I want to express to our learners here. Never make a follow through look like what you think it should. Don't think, oh, I'm supposed to go like that. So you force yourself to do a fake like backhand follow through, and you throw your front arm forward. The follow through is a result of what you do before it. It's not something you try to aim for. You don't imagine I will follow through like this and then do it, because you have some really fake follow throughs. What you really need to pay attention to is why is your follow through the way it is. And so when we see that limp release, limp follow through, and then you just drop the arm, it means that you're not expanding. And the related issue is, are you using back tension? And what we're missing here, and when we look at the rear view, you'll see this a lot more clearly. So let's jump to our rear view, or I'll just say the 6 o'clock position. There we go. Okay, we're at full draw. Yes, we are. Yep. So let's get back up a few seconds. So we're at full draw. The click goes on there. So the limbs are here. Okay, so that's the line of the bow. What I'm looking for is, where's the elbow? Is the elbow in line with the bow limbs, the arrow? Okay, so ideally this should be in line, or even just past that. But I want to see at least in line. The elbow is about, like, 4 inches outside. Okay, that's a compressed position, so we're not fully expanded. I know for a fact here that you can get your elbow back even further than this, like significantly further. You have that range of motion. Okay, so again, just to demonstrate this on the camera, what I'm going to show you, I'll do it from the front view. Now, I'll do it from the rear view. I did it before, it was really weird, but we'll do a rear view. Okay, it's just weird because it's like I have to like bend down. I've got a bad ankle, but try imagine this. Okay, so optimally, this is what you want. Okay, from the rear view, you want this alignment because when you do this, you'll start feeling this part being engaged. If you have your arm kind of chicken wing like this, you have nowhere near this level of engagement. So that's very strong. This is not very strong. Well, that's tough. So what I'm trying to indicate here is you're not using back tension very much. And that's why when we go to this view, it doesn't look like... I can see here the elbow's not quite in line. It's more obvious from this point of view here. But what happens is, because there's little back tension being used, the follow-through is activated by the hands. So instead of squeezing the back muscles, which aren't being engaged right now, it's pull with your hand until it clicks. And that's why you do this. That's not a bad follow-through, but it's not a genuine follow-through. Okay? Hand. That's entirely driven by hands. We see from the back view, because what we're looking for is, does this shoulder blade move? So that's actually not bad. Then the initial movement is a good movement there. So the motion's correct. That's good. But then it doesn't go further. You can go further than this. Alright, so that kind of stays static in the shot process. So the finishing position is good. So you have the right motion. But the part where you need to engage is being a little underutilized. Now, there's a simple solution. It may be you should move your clicker in by 1.5 inches. Now, I'm not sure how much you move the clicker, because you have a click here, I believe it's sight mounted, so you can move it in, or you can use the riser itself as a clicker mounting point. Not sure exactly where it is, but you do have, that's sight mounted, yeah. So you can move the clicker in. So I'm not sure if, because as your form progresses and you get better, your draw length might increase because you're used to the weight of the bow. But if you don't change your draw length, you might actually be underdrawn. This is why having the right draw length is important for those who are wondering, because what you want is to reach your maximum range of motion. So when you say like use back tension, reach full draw doesn't mean this arbitrary point where you touch your anchor and then you get full draw. Full draw means, are you actually fully aligned in your shoulders? Because this shoulder alignment is suboptimal. So if you're wondering, if you put an arrow on her shoulder blades, it'll point to that side, the right, because she's left-handed. Whereas if it's pointing towards or even away, like the other side, that's better. But pointing this way means that it's not good alignment. Okay, so we're not in line, and that means we have a whole bunch of motion going here. That means you have this much for variation, this much play, I guess, if we talk about like mechanics, this much looseness that is going to affect your form, because all this looseness means that it pivots. That's why when you anchor, it's not a strong anchor, because it pivots at a fairly arbitrary point. Like this is a point in space which has no back wall. The reason why you want to have max tension at full draw, it is your wall. You can't go past that. That means for those who are shooting without clickers, if you're wondering, like if you have no clicker, not sure what I did there. So if you have no clicker, some of that. What I'm trying to say is, when you have no clicker and you have a back wall, you can't exceed that. Okay. For example, in my range of motion, I can't go past here. Now, this is excessive. I'm holding a bow, right? So I'm in my position. I can't get past this. that means this is like my optimal level. Again, because side view, back view, side view, swivelly chairs. This looks good because I've reached my full draw. Anchor point here, right? If I anchor properly, that's my max motion. By hitting the wall, that means I can't exceed that. That's my natural clicker, I guess. But again, those shooting trad know this. You know you've reached full draw when you can't go further. Max tension and release. With the clicker, it can play tricks on you because you can set it as far as you want. But just because you set it at a certain distance doesn't mean your body's correctly aligned. So it's very important that you correctly align with max tension, set the clicker there, and then you'll always hit that spot. So the easy solution would be experiment with moving the clicker in. So that's the main thing. I think the clicker is it's too short. Right, so you go through it too quickly. That's why you are delicate in coming in, and then it clicks and you let go. It's not a full body motion, which is activating the shot. That's where thing comes in. Whew. All right, that's M. All right, let's take a quick break with some questions in the chat at the moment. Again, just feel free to come. Yeah, come. I should have muted it, but I need to hit the clicker. But could a more square stance help with the alignment? The answer is yes, of course. You definitely can. Have a more open stance or square stance. A square stance is when you're in line or perpendicular with the target. The answer is yes, you can do that. If you feel that you need to adopt a square stance for better range of motion, then sure, do that. That's fine too. So it depends on the person. Some people are more flexible than others. That's definitely something you can do. Alright, we're gonna go on to our next segment. This is from Earl. And specifically, it's his daughter. All right. Let's flip over. Sorry, still kind of sick. All right. So it's 3 shots, and this is like a coach's dream. Firstly, nice setup. I love this. Nice range. But let's watch. Ooh. Whew. Okay. 3 quick shots there, but good angles. Good angles. Okay, let's watch. This first one has a bit of a shake to it, which that's a slight micro collapse. So I mean, it's a bit of a shock thing. So the bow comes in, vibration. Not a bad shot. There's still a very strong follow through. Perhaps not the cleanest shot, but excellent. This one's very clean. Very good shot there. That's like picture perfect. Picture perfect. Excellent bow follow through. So motion is forward, arm naturally drops down, bow swings, hand finishes correctly behind the head. That is a genuine follow through. This is what I mean by comparing M and Earl Junior here, I guess. Like this is a very big difference. So watch the anchor point. Confident anchor. She's at full range of motion. Okay, that's the maximum thing. That's the wall. And that's as far as you go. That's an excellent shot. Alignment. Comes in here. Picture perfect. Again, this is another good angle. You see that scapular movement. Alright, let's get back over here. Let's watch the movement. Look at that. See, what I'm looking for is this pop out. Those who are watching, this right shoulder blade here moves. Watch the movement of the shoulder blade. There. See how it pops out like that? That's back tension. That's the engagement you want. Which means that when she reaches full draw, anchor. That's anchor here. And then the loading. You can see that very slight downward motion. That's locked in place. So she's hit the wall and she's locked in the right alignment. So her shot execution is just a simple push, A little squeeze here, you'll feel it in this section over here, and then click. Beautiful. That is excellent shooting. So, what can I say to improve? Now, if there's anything to improve, it's going to be speed. Okay. The first one not so much, but the second shot is where I want to pay attention to. Now, she does have good shot tempo. She holds, which is very important. Okay, hold, it allows you to stabilize, allows you to mentally move from one step to the next, it allows you to transfer from conscious to subconscious. So it's important you don't just shoot right away. All right, so this is good. She anchors, loads, holds, and then she expands, conscious decision making. Before I go to the improvement, I think what's important here is the determination. You've always said that archery is like 90% mental, plus or minus 10%, but it's a big mental game. This is determination, okay? When you know this shot is going to be good, you do it. There's no hesitation. In all the shots in the sequence, every shot is deliberate and purposeful. I want to really go on a diatribe here because I feel this is so understated. People who examine form, you know, when you post on like Reddit or you share people online, it's almost always a physical form check where, oh, your alignment's wrong, or your anchor's wrong, or your hook is wrong, but seldom is it a mental process checkup. And this is what coaches do. Anyone who's watching this is a coach. I know quite a few of us are coaches. Shout out to our coaches here, of course. But a lot of people, coaches examine how and why. When people look at form, they look at what, but we look at how and why. And the thing that we often don't teach at an early stage is mental game. The mental game is what determines whether or not your shot is good. Now, physical form, that's going to be like a prerequisite. Like, we can fix form physically. But if you're not determined to shoot well, then you will never shoot well. It's not going to be ingrained in you because you're like, oh, it doesn't matter if I shoot well or not. You know, I'll just shoot instinctively, or I'll just, bad shot, I'll do the next one good. What you see between our shooters is, are you mentally in the game? I mean, and I do recommend the Joel Turner seminar, which I'll meant to. I'll demonstrate something a bit later on. But the steps are determination, decision, presence, and concentration. And if you're not in the mental zone, if you can't get yourself determined to shoot the best shot you can in that shot, then the shot's bad. It's not purposeful. It's not intentional. You shoot poorly. And that's why when watching someone shoot like this, archers have a certain face when they are focused. That's why every full draw shot looks majestic. Almost looks ugly because you're like swooshing the face and you're like, you know, strings here. But your eyes tell what you are doing. They tell me what you're focused on. And we can feel that this is going to be the shot that counts. That's why it's a pleasure watching her shoot here. And we'll watch the next shot a few more times, right? This is the look of a determined archer. And it doesn't matter if it's rushed or if there's like a bit of a form fault somewhere, right? This determination is hard to train. Right? It's hard to get someone in the mindset where I'm going to make this shot happen. So definitely confident, fearless in, click, go. Fearless. That is praise. Alright, this is what I tell all my students in school, not just archery, in schools. Like, you suck because you don't want to be good. That's a simple fact. A lot of my students play sport. I tell them, you play soccer, you play basketball, right? So what drives you? You want to win. Okay, what do you do to win? You train. Alright, if you don't do well training, do you take a day off? No, you train harder. So that determination to win, that determination to do the best you can is what drives you. When there's no consequence, you don't hold yourself accountable. And when you're not accountable, then every shot is going to be a lazy shot. And I've seen people I train, you know what I'm talking about. People who shoot for like 3, 4, 5, 6 hours, but they're not there. How many shots do you actually shoot? There's no point saying, oh, I'm going to train for 5 hours, post it on like Facebook, and then say, look, I shot 5 hours. Were you mentally there for every single shot? Do you shoot every single shot as if it was the best shot of your life? That's the mental game, all right? And it hurts you and me as a coach, but it hurts you as well when you shoot so much, but you make no progress because you weren't determined to make the shot count. Now, it's one thing to have your coach there kind of poking your stick saying, do it, do it, do it, do it, and you shoot really well. What if they're not there? What are you doing by yourself? That mental discipline is a rarity. I'll say this. As a teacher, it's a rarity to find people who are motivated, young people who are motivated and disciplined, even older people. Because we get lazy, we get complacent. But to have that sort of determination where I'm going to make it count, that's what matters here. So that I think is an outstanding sign for a young person to show. So, what was the thing I was going to say to improve on? Now, while the shot tempo is really good, the speed at which she anchors is a little worrying for me. It doesn't mean it's a problem here, but it can become a problem and people might not realize it. Alright? It might work well when you're in the zone, but if you're like 1% off, this can be a problem. Now, that's a clean shot. This is a clean shot. I'm not complaining about any of these shots here. And in fact, this might not even be a problem. But I want to use this as a learning moment and a teaching moment, because while this might not apply to her, it might apply to you. So I'm going to pull a page from Joel Turner. Right? Those who have gone through the Shot IQ seminar will know this. This is the handwriting test. I've adapted this, by the way, to make it a little simpler to explain to people who can't write. But I want you to take a piece of paper and a pen. Okay, so paper, pen. I've got envelope here. That's fine. Okay, so for those who did Shot IQ, what Joel Turner does is he'll make you draw 3 lines, and you have to write your name, and you have to touch every single line. I'll simplify this. Draw 2 parallel lines, if you can. Doesn't matter if it's exact. So 2 parallel lines. And what I want you to do is to draw a zigzag. So go from line to line, line to line, line to line, line to line. But you cannot cross over the line, and you cannot miss the line. Every stroke must touch the line exactly. Not over, not under. Now if you're trying it at home, you can pause the video, try it yourself. No one pause. Okay, so I'll do it, okay? What most people do, first time around, they do this. They'll go, okay, draw, and then you look at it and you go, well, I started here. You started here. That didn't start the right spot. That kind of went over. Touch went over. Doesn't count. Do it again. Went over. Went over. Went over. Do it again. And at some point, you get frustrated. And everyone reaches this point differently. Some do it right away, and they go, you know, that's it, I'm doing it right now. Second shot. Some people will keep on doing it over and over again until they get frustrated after 10 tries or 20 tries. But eventually, you learn to stop. And you start paying attention to what you're actually doing. Look at your pen carefully, and you draw a line, and then you go careful, 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 stop, and draw, careful, 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 and then draw again, careful, 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 draw again, and then stop. It's a simple test, but we develop our strategies very easily. Okay, and what people often find is you start, you draw a line, and then you slow down until you touch. And then you go to the next part, and you slow down until you touch. And then you draw next line, and you slow down until you touch, and so on. So you become more aware of what you were doing. Okay? The part that requires the most precision is the part where you slow down to make sure you're doing it just right. Because this is about millimeters. And what else is about millimeters? archery. This is your draw cycle. Alright? This is what you do when you draw. Okay, you don't go, shoot, because you're off. You're off by 3 millimeters here, you're off by centimeters there. Half an inch here, whole inch over there, whatever you Americans use. But the point is that you don't want to accelerate so fast where you expose yourself to an error here. Now you might be programmed to do it exactly right. It's almost like a linear motion where you go in, out, in, out. That can be really good if you are able to do it every single time. But what if you're not having a good day? What if you're shooting poorly one day and you can't figure out exactly why? You can't quite get through the click of that one shot. Maybe because you have exceeded, you've crossed the line by a millimeter. You haven't quite reached it, and you go, and then you squeeze it through. So what I'm saying here is, while this might not be a problem for her right now, that sort of process can breed a problem which slips in later. And if you're not aware that you can take your time on the anchor, then that can breed problems. So people sometimes, this is a different problem, but sometimes people have a very long, slow draw. And then slow, you don't have to do that. There's no gain in drawing slowly. Yeah, it's going to tire you out. So you can draw quickly, but the anchor is often when you slow down and be careful. So just be aware of that. Again, this isn't so much a problem for her. I think her shooting is outstanding for her age and her experience. But that sort of thing can creep in. And more so for those who are watching, that should be something you can pay attention to as you go. So that's our quick feedback there. Alright, so what else can we do? Let's move to our next one. We'll fly through this. I know this is the best times of people commenting, but people can watch this and join in too. So that's Earl's daughter. We'll go to let's go to but this is Markus. Markus is next. So Markus is very obviously beginner here, so I'm not gonna be extremely hard on Markus. So he literally shoots 2 arrows. Okay, so we were all at this stage before. By the way, all the stage where we hold it upside down. We always do this. So like beginner bows, beginners always go, okay, hold bow, let's go, and then oops. Flip it around. We often tell people, we need come and try. Come and try is so funny because like you think the bow grip is obvious, right? Like it's designed in a certain way, but obviously it's not obvious now. So people will hold it upside down. They'll pick it up and they'll go the whole like that, you know. They'll shoot it upside down. And like no. There, grip here, and okay, that makes sense. So some people do that. Okay, it happens. More so with horse bows, by the way, because like a horse bow, an Asiatic recurve is almost like symmetrical, so you kind of forget which way is up sometimes. There is an up for these bows. But let's watch a couple of shots. He literally has 2 arrows, so we shoot 2 arrows, and then we'll give them feedback to Markus. And we'll pause there. Now, unfortunately, I've got a nosebleed at the moment, so I have to keep my tissue. I do apologize. Holy crap, that happened. Like I said, I'm kind of sick and I'm getting a few nosebleeds at the moment, so I'll keep the camera off because holy crap. Might get some more tissue later on, but I can do commentary on his form until the bleeding stops. Whoa, okay. Wow, archery live streams have a risk here. So let's examine Markus again. So what am I doing with myself? Let's go Markus. Yes, Markus, right. So I said before that sometimes we can nitpick and people understand the what more than how and why, but this is one time where the what and the why the what makes a lot more sense. The first thing where people point out if all these things is finger protection. Okay, Use it. Use it. The reason why is we repeat this a lot. I don't care about like how good it feels on the fingers. What I care about is your nerves. Okay, some people think, oh, they'll get calluses on the fingertips, they'll feel better. That's not necessarily true. Okay, the issue isn't the calluses. The issue, sorry, I got very big nose right here. The issue is more to do with the nerves on the joints. So if you have the string pressed against the joints, it's going to pinch nerves. Now, some people never have this issue, but some people do. If it feels like your fingers are numb, that's a bad sign. Now, okay, if it's like kind of stingy because it's been rubbing against the string for like a day, okay, that's expected. That's calluses. But if it feels numb, you can't feel your fingers, that's not a good sign. If you feel intense, sharp pain, that's a terrible sign. Every archer, every coach will advise you to use finger protection. Please do. Now, if nothing else, if you don't care about your fingers, at least care about the shot itself. What I'm saying here is, fingers provide a bad surface for the string to come off. They're rough, they're not shaped well. Even wearing gloves, gloves are excellent, but gloves aren't ideal compared to a finger tab. Finger tabs provide a flat surface for the string to rest against. It allows you to also have a deeper, confident hook. What I'm seeing here is a bit of a delicate ginger grip, where it's almost on the fingertips. Like you're almost afraid to have the string any deeper because it hurts. That's why you use a tab or a glove, because you need to hold this deep. That's a good grip. This isn't good grip. So I would highly advise that you hold or use a finger tab or glove. Don't be like cavalier about this. Like, you really need to have it. You shoot better. It'll feel better. Trust me on this one here. I might cause like a 2-minute break. I need to address my nose bleed right now, so I will have a bit of a interregnum. Sorry, let's pause here. I'll put some nice background music. Just give me a second because I need to clean up. These things happen, unfortunately. Let's bring some nice vibe music to go to. I will be back shortly. Sorry, people. Yeah, right back. um, yeah, these things happen. Oh man, this sucks. Being sick is terrible. Yeah, we're back. So, sorry, a bit of nosebleed there. That was pretty clean up. The reason why the pause was I had to actually demonstrate this. That I couldn't really talk with a big tissue up my nose like that. So, here we are. Okay, so what's going on? We are currently examining Markus. Okay, so we've mentioned Markus and just make sure the right screen here. Finger protection. Need finger protection. Full stop. Okay. Now, the other thing is something you can hear. I'm not talking about my nosebleed. I'm talking about something you can actually hear while shooting. More so the next shot. That's the sigh of like frustration. Everyone does that. Love the look. That speaks volumes. But more to the point, it's the breathing. Okay, people ask me a lot about breathing, and I really should make a video about this at some point. But breathing is important, yes. Now, most people don't think about breathing, and you don't really need to until you do. So, what do I mean by breathing? So, the what most beginners do, they get into the habit of sorry, choking on blood. They get into the habit of holding the breath when they draw. So they go like that. It's almost a relief. Maybe not so exaggerated. Some do this, but often people hold their breath. People who train in shooting, rifle for example, they'll learn to breathe out rather than hold their breath. But instinctively, because archery is like a physical action which we have to brace ourselves for, people tend to breathe in and hold their breath. They go and hold the breath. And now this is what you see with Brendan, sorry, with Markus, Brendan's later on. So it's almost like there's two breaths here. So we have a chill. Just calm down, mate. That can be a little anxious. Okay, now I feel that even the look of it is quite clear. Where there's a lot of anxiety in the shot, which of course leads to a bad shot, leads to frustration, repeat, and so on. So this isn't the primary thing to fix, but we're just going one step at a time. But because it's so prominent in the shot, I will address this. So breathing, breathing. To keep it short, the right way to breathe with archery is this. So it's good to have a deep breath when you lift your bow up. When you go to your setup position, you lift your bow, you go, and then you breathe out when you draw. And by the time you reach full draw, you would have about say 50 to almost like 60% of your breath out. So your lungs are mostly empty by the time you reach full draw. Then when you reach full draw, you slowly exhale. Slowly. So you go until you finally release. You're not going to hold that long. So I'm exaggerating my breathing, of course. You're obviously going to breathe a lot more quietly and more controlled, but that's kind of what it sounds like. Now, that serves a very important function. When you hold your breath, everything becomes more intense. So your heart rate goes up, your shoulders rise, your chest rises, you feel more pressure, you feel more tension, there's more stress, and this makes for a bad shot. Just like everything goes up. When you exhale, before you release, when you're holding, when you exhale, everything goes down. Heart rate goes down. Pressure goes down. Your mental state comes down. You physically come down. You go. Actually, you can physically see everything relaxing. This doesn't mean that you shoot when you're all empty, of course, right? You can shoot anytime you want. You click go, but the purpose of this is to calm down, bring everything down, which helps your physical alignment, your structure. Your chest isn't bloated up; it's down and relaxed where it should be, and that also calms you down for the shot. So because breathing is important here, I thought I mentioned that. So Markus, breathe, breathe, my friend. So that's something we'll see here. So that's why this is a bit of frustration. So that's breathing. So there's a lot of anxiety to shot here, and anxiety can come from something else. Breathing doesn't solve anxiety, it can help, but the anxiety also comes in a lack of a process, which I mentioned later on. So another quick thing is stance looks a little narrow. There's a table in the way, unfortunately, but I can tell from the way your legs are positioned, it's a little narrow. So what I mean by this is when you stand, you sway. Let's go to our first shot here. So when you stand, you sway. There's movement. So we don't want that kind of, see our body movement? That's imbalance. Alright? That is a lack of balance. Next shot. Let's see the movement. See that sway? Yeah, it's a wind blowing you, mate, but that is you're not having good balance. So a good stance would normally mean that you have your feet about shoulder width apart. This is a little narrow, so you're staying too straight. So you're too in line. So spread your legs out just a bit so it's in line with your shoulders. Okay, I know you're not standing square. This is an open stance, but I want to see a bit more like this foot should be more in line with this shoulder, and that foot in line there. So open your stance. It's okay, but try to widen your stance so there's more stability. Otherwise, you will kind of swing back and forward like a like a leaf in the wind or something. So that's why you see you're leaning backwards. People sometimes ignore stance. Stance is super important. It's the foundation of the shot. If you have a poor stance, then look, funny enough, a lot of problems with archery when you form comes down to stance. Like if you can't get your shoulders aligned, is it your stance? Right? If you can't get back tension, is it your stance? So stance is super important. We teach it first for a reason. Okay, so just watch for that swing. That's a stance issue. Now the last thing for Markus is the process issue. What's the mental process? And we'll see this in the release. Okay, we'll watch this set instead. Okay, I think the next shot is like the worst shot. I think if I remember correctly, there's a lot of frustration in this shot. That wasn't that bad actually. Okay, so a lot of people will say, "Oh, you're plucking the string." That's correct. All right. We'll look at the what here. It's the pluck. All right. We go in. It's a pluck. But the pluck isn't the issue. It isn't the cause. This is the root cause. Why do people pluck? If people don't pluck because like you have a bad release, what's the cause of the pluck? The cause of the pluck is when you are relying on a mental trigger to do your shot. I have a slight frustration when people say focus on relaxing, because a good release is a relaxation of the fingers. Just relax. But you don't just say focus on relaxing. It doesn't make sense. It's paradoxical. You can't say relax, relax, relax. That just makes everything worse. All right. So we're saying focus on relaxing is a paradox. You can't focus on relaxing. Relaxation is a lack of focus. You just clear your mind. So you can't really tell people to focus on the release and relax it. What you need to do is to shift the focus to something else. The release has to be surprising. Now, I'm not going to sidetrack here, talk about two different kinds of release. You have closed trigger systems, and you have open systems. A closed system is when you program your brain to release on a trigger. Now, for things like a compound release aid, it's the release aid. You can touch the trigger, pressure, it goes off. If you're shooting a clicker, same thing, Olympic recurve, you have a full draw, and then you expand, click, go. So there's an automatic response when the trigger goes off. It's a sear, goes off. Now, when you're shooting traditional and bare bow, there is no trigger. You don't go, click, let go. You have to choose when to let go. And that's what kind of tricks people into doing really bad shots, because they feel like when do you let go? How do you know when to let go? This is a question people ask me. Like, I've had like a rifle shooter, young girl rifle shooter, who asked me, how do I know when to let go? And for archers, it sounds stupid because you let go when you feel like it. You just let go, like you let go, relax your fingers, like let go. But if you've trained yourself only to shoot with closed systems of triggers, this actually makes sense. So how do you know when to let go? If you're not using a clicker or release aid, how do you know when to release? So any conscious choice to release will result in the pluck. The pluck isn't because, oh, I'm plucking the string, flies. The pluck happens because you're like, oh, I'm ready. Release. You're telling yourself, let go. That's why the dead release or the pluck happens. So what I often teach people is synchronize the release with a different action. Focus on doing something else and make the release a subconscious part of that. And that's why I tend to teach people to push rather than release. Now, the base form of this for every archer is like expansion. The step is actually expansion. So the expansion is that kind of chest coming outwards, squeezing the back muscles. But because our brains aren't good at thinking muscle, don't think, squeeze your lats. We don't think, what does that mean? All right? People think motion. Motion, not muscle. That's what Coach Lee told us. So don't tell us what muscle to use. Say what motion to do. And what I find is when I say, people say pull a lot, like full draw, pull, and then when you reach your maximum pull, you let go. That can be very effective. That's probably the most common way of doing it. But I find myself teaching the push rather than the pull because there's a bit of a habit where people will actually physically pull the string further back. So that's what you don't want to do that. You want to anchor and then expand. All right, expand means this comes that way. I tend to focus more on the front hand, where I tell people to push. Okay, so you're holding the bow. I'm not holding a bow, imagine I am. You hold the bow, and then you push. So target's there. I push towards the target. And when I reach my maximum push, I can't push anymore, then I release. Alright, and you feel that in your body. You feel it through your arm, you feel it through your back. You're like, I can't push anymore. The release happens by itself. So that's what I would advise, that you, when you want to finish the shot, focus on your basic steps. You're aiming, so you pick the point on the target you want to aim at. So you go in, look at the target. Alright, when you're in line, tension, push, and then release. Focus on doing that. That will help remind you to engage your back tension. That's what back tension means. It's using your back muscles. That will make you reach a natural wall where you can't go any further. And when you hit that wall, then you release. It's not a choice you make. You don't choose, I'm choosing when to release. I'm choosing to begin the process, which ends in the release. I don't go, okay, alright, I'm on target, I'm on the gold, release. I'm on target, I'm on gold, I push, and the release happens. That is how you can help yourself work with an open trigger system. There's no kind of like feedback loop. You just go, alright, when do I let go? Tell yourself to do something else. For me, it's the push. Expand is what everyone does. It could be pull. It's actually both pull and push. But like I said, in my experience, people tend to overpull. So I compensate by teaching to push more than the pull. But whatever the case, that's the motion that you want to tell yourself. And that's it for Markus. So a nice beginner video. And that will cover the basics there. We've got one more, and that's Brendan. And Brendan's a very quick one. So we'll do that. And then we'll take any questions in chat. Let's bring up Brendan. That's Markus. Yeah, the breathing is kind of weird, and that's, you know, again, I'm not going to question why breathing, but I love his anxiety, I love his beginner focus. So if you don't pay attention to breathing, then clearly it's going to cause problems later on. So it's good to know that. Look at Brendan. Brendan's from WA, Western Australia, not Washington. I assume. And we're gonna watch a couple of different angles here. This I actually wrote like literally one dot point for this one, because it's a very easy thing to spot. And let's bring it up. Okay, so watch a couple of shots. And that's pretty much all that's needed, okay? This shot tells everything, and I think people can scream at me through the screen exactly what's going on. So, structurally, things are good. Alignment seems okay, stance is okay. It seems okay. I'm not complaining about this. This is a pretty good like setup. But right away, people probably say, where's the back tension? Right? Go click the back tension. That's simply it, right? Remember, no back tension. We'll see the back view. And I appreciate the multiple angles, but it's very good learning material, okay? Because you can really see that. When you're wearing a loose shirt, doesn't matter, you can see the lack of motion. And bit of motion, but this is a static back. There is no movement in this back. I will expect to see, you know, the shirt crumple. I expect to see the muscles move here. We saw the other shooters. We saw Earl Stoller. We saw James earlier. They've got straight back, but the motion is very clearly captured. This one does not have. This is a flat back, and there's no movement. All right, we go from setup, draw, anchor. So we have the beginning of the right motion. When we reach full draw, it's beginning to move, but it stops there. Right? The shot is activated with no back muscle engagement. All right. So we're starting to get there, but it goes off. Do another shot. See that? There's no move in the back. Watch it real time. It's more obvious in real time, see? And that's why the follow through is limp. The back hand has the right motion, but the front hand has no idea what it's doing. Right? It's like, what do I do? Why does the bow fall forward? Why doesn't it swing? It's because there's no tension. Okay? So your hand's holding it there, but there's no expansion. The back tension is not sufficient, so it goes off. And it just falls down. It's like you're still holding it. Like, but it's supposed to swing. Back tension, mate. So the solution to this is actually quite simple. All right. Move your clicker in. It's out quite a bit there. Move the clicker in. Now, unless there's a reason you can't see, you have that range of motion. You can bring your elbow back. You can squeeze this a lot more. And I'll demonstrate this once more. Hopefully no nosebleed this time. I don't know, punch it in the nose, right? So if you can get your elbow back further, do it. Hit your wall. All right, your body has a wall where you go, all right, draw, anchor, and that's the wall. Now, some people are flexible than others. Part of your training is flexibility, range of motion, but you have a wall which you can't exceed. And logic says that if you can't exceed this wall, then that's your maximum length. This is your full length. Even without a clicker. And the funny thing is, I tell people, okay, your clicker's weird. Like, don't use the clicker. They go, what do I do? What do I do? Relax. You actually do have a natural draw length. You don't need a clicker to tell you where draw length is. And actually, I wouldn't be surprised if people who are using clickers who are struggling, the clickers were set arbitrarily. That's where it should be, because your arrows are that long. All right, but it doesn't mean that's your actual length. Once you've recognized that's your maximum length of motion, set your clicker to that length. So for you, Brendan, you should move your clicker in an inch. Move it in, and then force yourself to be in that fully tense position. because you will feel a whole lot different. I say this because people who often train in my club, for example, they might be shooting for 2, 3, 6 months, and because they're so used to shooting with their hands, they never use back tension, and they shoot like crap because like a little bit all over the place. Like why am I getting better? Okay, do this. Reach your full draw. I am. No. Watch. And they're like, holy crap, that felt good. And like, yeah, of course it felt good. Do it again. Alright, and like, oh man, like I felt that. That's what a good shot feels like. Good back tension. If I feel it here, you go, and you feel it right there. When you do your shot, you're like, oh, it's a strange feeling. But if you know what I'm talking about, like you know what I'm talking about, right? That's what back tension feels like. And again, people will shoot for months without direction and then never feel the shot. So when you finally show them, they're like, this is like the first time I feel like I've done archery. Yeah, you've been throwing arrows before that. Now you're actually doing archery. This is what it feels like. And they get tired because they haven't used the right muscles. Like we say, like archery uses different muscles than what you normally use every day. And unfortunately, people think, okay, that means I get tired, that means that's normal. Yeah, but are you even using the right muscle in the first place? So that's a bit of a mental kind of like bait and switch sometimes. So you might think you're doing archery, but until you feel that ooh in your back, you haven't really done archery yet. So that's a bit of a rant, but that's something which we're seeing in quite a few of our learners today. Was we see a couple of examples of really good back tension, but we also see some examples of not really there back tension. And the solution often may be clicker. Just move clicker in. People shooting without clicker, it's about recognizing where your war is in terms of your range of motion. But with the clicker, if it's too far out, you don't want to train yourself to use a long clicker. I guess that makes sense. If it's too long for you, if it's too short for you, rather. So you don't want to train using a short clicker because you end up being like you end up being very cramped. And you don't have to use back tension to click. And that's a bad feedback loop. You don't have to be full tension to click. It should be set so you need to be at full tension for it to click, and therefore you reinforce a positive cycle of you've reached the max war, click and then go. If you can click and then go like that much more, way too short. So that's the main gist of the lessons today, of the 5 volunteers who have their lesson, their form roasted. But the 2 main takeaways from this pattern today is, firstly, is the back tension. Again, good back tension, we saw some, and then there was some clips where the back tension was pretty much absent. So that has to be addressed. Recognize your range of motion. Again, when you reach full max tension, there's no movement. There's no like flop around. There's no lip movements. You're at max tension. When you release, it follows through naturally. The second thing, again, the thing which is very understated in archery is the mental shot process. Determination is absolutely essential. Again, we saw it with a couple of shooters today, where you can tell by the face they're going to make this shot happen. There wasn't even a question. They know what's going to go, they know what they're doing, and they will do it. And we see some people who don't have that determination. I'm like, I hope this is good. I hope it shoots well. If you hope it shoots well, it's not going to shoot well. This is luck now. You're not controlling it. So the mental determination leads to good decision making, which means that you are in the zone, in the shot, and paying attention to every shot you do. And we saw that very productive today. And again, we saw some people perhaps who were a little too laid back about shooting, and therefore the form doesn't match what they want to do. So that ends the formal side of this. Very happy to take questions for the next few minutes. I know this is a pretty weird time stop. Hopefully it matches some people. And again, anyone want to be involved in this, feel free to send in your videos. The address is nu.sensei.archery@gmail.com, or mention me to Instagram or Facebook. Even though I don't call these like that frequently, it might happen like once a month, once every 2 months, depending on my schedule. This sort of thing is pretty easy to do. So if I bank up a lot of videos, I'll do these more frequently, and hopefully this will help people, whether it's you or people watching this. It'll teach you something new. Okay, so what are we looking at? So we have a couple. Just one question to think. If I get my full extension of my draw, I have no chance of having a good anchor point while looking toward the target. Hangers way behind the ear. What can I do with that? Pick your anchor point first, then your maximum draw. Okay. So what I mean by that is, I don't mean reach full draw where like, oh, that's as far as I can go. I mean, that's your anchor point. That's more important. Okay. If you anchor here, how far can you go from here? Not how far can you go from here, but how far can you go here? So if you're shooting trad, for example, this is your anchor point. You've got your corner of your mouth or your cheekbone. Then how far can you go from here? If you're shooting thumb draw, for example, you might pull it back, anchor your ear. How far can you go from here? So work from anchor point first, then establish your maximum range of motion. Hope that makes sense. And that's a very good question though, yeah. But yeah, like if you talk about full range, that's why you have like the Manchu draws or the Japanese Kudo draws where they go all the way here. This is actually true for Manchu and definitely Japanese archery, where they do this because this is biomechanically the maximum range of motion. So when they draw until they can't hold anymore, and then they release, because that's the natural point of release. So I might look at, hopefully they'll get copyright struck here. Let's actually examine some of the Kudo draws. Let's see if we can find some right now. Hey, apparently I'm live, you knew that. For once. Kudo archery technique. Can I see something appropriate here? Oh, Jessica's really good at this. Okay, let's just look at Jessica's fantastic. I watched a live interview with her on Archery Geek. She's a New Zealander, I think. Who lives in Japan and does Kudo. Yep. So the reason why this is a thing in Kudo is because this is the maximum range of motion. That's why the alignment is so perfect. It's designed to be around this particular form. And what they do is they basically hold until they can't hold anymore. This is the maximum range, and they'll hold this and they'll squeeze the whole like shoulders and back, and then at the point where they can't hold anymore, they release. See, caught it right there. This is the first time I've seen this, by the way, right? But you can see, like, she's aligning, she's reaching a max motion, and then at the very peak, let's go. It's amazing because I can feel this through the screen. Like, people who watch this, we go, wow, it's so majestic. We're like, okay, this is it. That's the point. You can tell it's gonna go off, and that's why it's such a naturally good release. Okay, so that's what I mean by Kudo, and just because definitely check out Archery Geeks. Just look it up, Archery Geek, Jessica Garrity. Like I was on Archery Geeks, Quick Shots by Archery Geek a few months ago. Definitely worth checking out this podcast. By the way, a little shout out there. By the way, but that's a really fun thing to look at. So yeah, that's what you mean. I think with the full draw. Definitely a lot more common in certain styles where you have that draw. So okay, Kudo, Qing style or Manchu style tend to be very long draw for that reason, because it is natural the body does. That's why I love traditional historical archery, which isn't target based. This is good for target, right? So a lot of target style, modern target, even traditional target like Turkish archery tend to anchor quite short because they're using a facial reference point. This is more consistent. This is more natural. Consistent versus natural. When you're in a battle, for example, you're riding a horse and you go, what do I shoot? You go like that. Okay, you naturally want to draw as long as you can. That's why, again, English longbow. They won't draw to their face. They'll draw past the ear. They'll draw ear and they'll draw as far as they can and they'll release from here. Joe Gibbs. Let's look at Joe Gibbs. Let's have some fun. This is the post-show fun, right? it's good to analyze this sort of thing because like archery's the same. Like it's not like there's a massive difference in archery technique. Okay, some old videos. Let's bring Joe Gibbs up. Okay, let's bring him up here. English longbow. So he doesn't anchor the face of, because you don't anchor the face of English longbow. Question is why? There, see? That is the full range of motion. This is a stupidly heavy, this is a 170-pound bow, right? It's stupidly heavy. But that's as far as it goes, which means that's his anchor point. Anchor point is chest, well, below the chest. It's shooting like, you know, it's this clout shooting, arc shooting, right? But that's how it shoots, because that's how the body knows how to align. Now, is this accurate? No. Alright, it's probably good enough to shoot 20 meters. That's why when we did the armor testing, it will hit like an armor plate at 20 meters, of course. But it's not going to be like Olympic level accuracy. Olympic level needs more reference points. There's not much reference point here, but your body knows, okay, I can pull it this far back, look at what I'm going to shoot at, it'll go there. So it's less consistent, but that's the natural range of motion for the body. But for an Olympic anchor, it's going to be on the face, and then you work from there, okay? Or a traditional target anchor, whatever. That's the difference, okay? So if you're looking at the body's range of motion, that's how far it goes, or that's how far it goes. But if you have to anchor, because that's your technique, your consistency, anchor first, or anchor, and then go from there. That's your range of motion. Whew, good question. All right, what else do we have here? Okay, Janik again, or Yannick. Makes sense. How far back do you turn your head with the anchor? Depends on your style. So give me headphones off. Kyudo does a full head turn. Alright, so Kyudo, mentioning Jessica and the Kyudo again. So you turn your head like almost like straight. So you're standing like square, okay? So the square stance, turn that way, and you feel this neck muscle tense. Alright, that's how straight it is with Kyudo. That's why they can shoot this way. If I shoot this way, I'll smash my glasses in my ear. And a bit of a hat for those who shoot thumb draw, they know this, alright? But Kyudo, you turn all the way across, and then you have the ability to come across this part of your body. But that's not the case for most archery. Things like trad archery, Olympic archery, you don't go that far in. It's actually slightly this way. So it's more like that's, if I'm square, that's where I am. But more likely I'm open with a modern archery stance. That means I'll shoot like this. So I'm a bit more face forward, but with my but like I'm like 3/4, just beyond 3/4. I know this because when I shoot with my GoPro, like for example, this is the GoPro I use. When I use my head mount, it's really awkward because like it's not actually in the middle of your head, right? If I was shooting Japanese, I'd probably be very close to like the middle. But because I shoot like this is your anchor point, right? So you look at the target. It's only like the left eye for me. I'm right-handed, so left eye that way. The right eye's on the arrow. So that's what it looks like. Unfortunately, that means that I have to put the camera like here somewhere. So if it's here, it'll point that way. So it's a pretty weird setup. So again, my head's different for shooting recurve, shooting Olympic, shooting thumb draw. So it's not consistent. It's kind of really frustrating sometimes. Yeah, the arrow goes around the world, comes back to you. Yeah, that's the true returning arrow. Yeah, like Luke said, when you shoot an Olympic style, you don't turn your head that much actually, so you can just keep your head. Again, you're my target. If I'm shooting Olympic recurve, I'm anchoring here. I'll go like that. So I'm actually more facing like that way, like that way more than that way. So my eyes are facing that way, my face is kind of that way. So as long as the stream comes across here, then that's fine for me. All right. Okay, that is a good discussion. It's nice talking about like the crossovers between different styles, because you know every style evolved to make use of what was available at the time. You know, our modern archery technique for Olympic recurve is ideal for modern Olympic target shooting. It doesn't mean that it's the best style, full stop. And all these things like, oh, would an Olympic archer do this? Or that? It doesn't matter. In ancient times, they weren't using Olympic modern technique. They would use a technique that is appropriate to the bow at the time. Some bows couldn't be drawn that far. You know, some bows are quite short. You couldn't draw it back all the way, so they drew quite short. It doesn't mean that that technique is superior. It means it might be more suited for that particular kind of bow. So, but understanding, again, the why is it done is more important than the what is being done. Okay, so I missed a question from Rebellion. My follow-through tends to make my hand go towards the shoulder rather than the back of the neck. As in, like, this shoulder, right? So you don't go that shoulder, this shoulder. I have seen people, watching a video recently talk about the dynamic follow-through where he does kind of like fling all the way back there. I've seen this happen too. Okay, so if it's going down that way, very common, a bit of a dead release technique here. Does it need fixing? Most people would say yes. If you're shooting Olympic recoil, I'd probably say yes. There's a reason why the natural follow-through comes behind the neck. Okay, I'm wearing headphones, this is dumb. Alright, so there is no one correct follow-through. And the follow-through isn't that super important. Exactly where it goes doesn't matter. It's what it indicates. So what this means is, if you are, say, shooting here, right? Where's the line of force when we're doing Olympic anchor? The line of force should be in this direction, right? Because of your arm is, you're going that way. So naturally, if you suddenly release, that's what, release, all the force moving you forward, wouldn't it make sense that upon releasing this, you would come behind your head, right? So that's why with most Olympic follow-throughs, it tends to go behind the ear, and some people kind of wrap around themselves, like a bit extreme there, but it's the same motions. It can be compressed or compact. So release ear or here or here or whatever, but it's usually in this area here, because that's where it should follow if you're correctly applying the line of force. You push that way, you pull this way, anchor here, and release. Where else would the hand go? So if your hand is now going towards here, is your line of force here, or is it here? Are you pulling downwards? Which, again, you still have hands come down, you release. Some people go down with the hand. So that's what to watch out for. This is actually correct, by the way. So in terms of drawing, draw, back view, draw, anchor, it does naturally come down. So, is it a huge problem? Not the biggest problem I have. If actually touching it as an Olympic archer, I might go, why are you doing that more than anything else? Doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means, like, well, why are you doing that? It's not uncommon for the hand to fish a little lower, because, again, you are squeezing downwards. That motion here is coming down. So you have anchor, and then down, and then like that. So it does come down that way. That's the correct motion. That's why we saw Earl's daughter before. She does have that very distinct motion like that. That is a normal part. So if you allow your hand to relax in that position, wouldn't be surprised if it's stuck towards the shoulder. As long as you're with this area here, it's kind of like where most follow-throughs will end up. Ooh, that's a long answer, but trying to be detailed there. So yeah, if you're touching your shoulder, might be excessive movement and too deliberate. Otherwise, it's okay. It's more like understand the motion behind it, more so than where it ends up. Do I post anywhere? Yeah, so normally I would post on like Facebook, maybe Instagram, and might do an announcement on the channel. This one was a particular kerfuffle because I actually ran this live stream like an hour, like 1 p.m., which is like 4 hours ago. But I kind of didn't hit the live button, so it was like a 1 hour of me talking to myself if nobody watching, and I didn't realize that it wasn't live. So this one was a bit of an effort on my part. So that's kind of why you didn't know about it. But partly because I've been offline for quite a bit, so I haven't had much chance to actually tell people I've been streaming. So we normally do these monthly. when we're in the swing of things. When we're not in the swing of things, it can be a little more rough. So I do apologize for not having the heads up, but you're more than welcome to join our next stream. And if you want to share any videos, yeah, it was really awkward. Like it was a really dumb time because like there were like those who were with me at the chat at the beginning. They were waiting. Oh, any time now, and at the time that I started recording on my OBS, someone said like, "Oh, let's go," and I thought it meant I was live. It was just coincidence that it's like 1 o'clock exactly, and I said, "Let's go," and I didn't realize that it wasn't live. Because again, for those who haven't streamed on the YouTube Studio, you have to hit stream on your OBS, and then it starts the preview feed, and then you hit go live on YouTube. I haven't done this for like a year, so I forgot the live button. So I've been watching my preview for the whole hour, and it's like the chat was just coincidental. It was like they're just saying, listen, I love you, you're great, love it, great tips, and I thought they're talking at me, and they're just filling chat while they're waiting for my stream to start, and I never realized it. So that was it. Just by coincidence. It's like you know when it's like when you sit in the toilet, in a public toilet, and someone's next to you talking on the phone, and you think they're talking to you, but they're actually talking to someone on the phone. It was like that. Like I'm just in my cubicle. I'm like, yeah, back tension, breathing, elbows, and the chat's going, yeah, nice tips. I love your content. I'm like, cool. This is a good stream. Pretty quiet, only like 4 people, but okay. And it was like an hour and a half in, and I finally saw it hasn't started yet, and I'm like, what? What do you mean? Oh. And I was like halfway through my outro. This is like 1 hour 20 minutes in. I was halfway through my outro, and I finally realized, wait, I'm not live. So this entire thing was the second run through. It's why it was a bit funny and more relaxed. The first one was like, I was kind of sick. I just I hadn't eaten yet. I mean, now I had like a live nosebleed, and I'm like, oh, wow, great. But that was funny. So, good to be back. I want to do some bit more rough one. These are pretty fun to do. And the kind of feedback you get is probably, I would say, a little higher level for what you would get for free elsewhere. And I do recommend, where you can get coaching. Get coaching. Coaching is the best investment you can do for yourself. Forget getting a good riser. Get a decent riser. Pay for a good coach. Like the lessons you learn pay for themselves immensely. And I'm just here to do what I can for those who don't have a coach or can't access one or can't afford one, or just to give some help. This isn't I'm sure the coaches you access are far better. Unless ironically I am your coach, and it applies to like 3 of you here. So if I'm your coach, I don't know, maybe I'm better than me, I don't know. Correct. Look, there aren't many coaches in Vietnam, although I do know that Vietnam is actually having a growing scene in archery. So by the way, where are you based? Because I was supposed to go to Vietnam like a few months ago, but I had no reason to go to Vietnam. I've got family there, but I've no reason to go. So sometimes if I do go, I might actually drop by and visit some of the clubs in Vietnam. So I'm curious where you're based at, because my family, I've got family in Đà Lạt and Saigon, mostly Đà Lạt area, but I do have some family in Đà Lạt. Oh, by the way, Jake Kaminsky is really good. Yeah, Hanoi is mostly Hanoi and Thành phố Hồ Chí Minh. Yeah, of course, no, Saigon in my time, but yeah, I wouldn't think this would be in Đà Lạt. Đà Lat's a weird place to be. Đà Lạt is like a fantastic place. Even Đà Lạt, it's like a bit more the highland area, and it's in southern Vietnam, but it's in the kind of more highland area. It's a very temperate climate. Like I'm in Melbourne. And the climate in Đà Lạt is very much like Melbourne's climate, so it's very comfortable. Apparently we've got strawberries in Đà Lạt. I think that's what we're known for, is the strawberries. Saigon is humid as, like the southern Vietnam is humid. Really, there's an archery range in Đà Lạt. Hey, you know what? I should like move to Đà Lạt and just like run my club there. I'd be like the best one. um, God, man, Vietnam's a great place. It's like South Vietnam is like you get like it's like you have like humid and humider. Like it's like there's no seasons. It's just like hot and hotter. It's funny. North Vietnam is like there's more proper seasons. It's kind of colder there. But like Vietnam is so warm. Like every like Vietnamese student comes to Australia, it's kind of like it's so cold here in Australia. Australia's pretty hot, by the way. We get some pretty hot days. But the climate in Australia, for like autumn or winter, it's chill. Like like you see Vietnamese people walking around like giant coats, the giant Kathmandu puffy coats. It's really funny. Everyone says it's cold here, which is true. It is. You get used to it. Like our hot days are really hot, but we're not humid. So it's kind of fun. But Vietnam's wonderful. I haven't been to Vietnam for ages. I've been there like once, like 10 years ago. So it's a bit different when you have family compared to traveling. 8-bit. Yeah, well, when you can send a video in, it'd be nice to watch, get some ideas and feedback. Yeah, definitely coaching. Oh man, yeah, seriously, like there's so many people think they can learn archery by themselves. Not saying you can't, but having a good coach fixes things, man. Like, like, I'm not saying I'm a great coach. I'm saying that, in my experience, someone who struggled to fix a problem, give me 15 minutes, I'll fix your problem. And you start shooting like the best shots of your life for the next day. And a week later say, look, I've got a problem. I come back. Yeah, it's like, yeah, okay. I'm not gonna make you a perfect shooter. I can fix your problem though, all right? Because like the best coaches, we're talking about like any good coach. I'm saying I'm the best coach. I'm saying there are lots of good coaches, whether it's Jake or Joel or other J people. Like they will see through you, man. Like it's not like a good friend, a good experienced archer can talk about what you do. That's what I said before about the Reddit stuff, right? Like people will identify what you do quite well, but what makes a good coach, and this is my background as a teacher, is to walk through it mentally from the perspective of the learner. So can you backtrack? Can you look back at how I can fix the problem? Not what the problem is, but why it is a problem and how it can be a problem. So that's what makes a good coach. Jake is Olympian, yeah, of course he is. You can see through, I would say, like being okay. Not every good athlete is a good coach. That's true for anything. Not every good student is a good teacher. Not every good performer is a good master. The act of teaching is something which is a whole different level, because you know it, but the act of coaching and teaching is a transfer of knowledge. And that can be really hard. There are some very good people. I'm saying in general artists, there are very good experts in their fields. And maybe, for example, like a science lecturer at university, but they are very bad at conveying that to a new generation. They have a bunch of like bachelor students, and they can't understand what they're saying. It's too complicated. It's not simplified. That's the issue. Look, I occasionally step in as a language teacher. I do teach Vietnamese, ironically enough. And look, the old teachers will be like, they'll give really old-fashioned dictation, or you copy things out. Newer teachers now are a lot more interactive. They have more, group dynamic role play, social learning. They'll do a lot more things which are more student focused rather than teacher focused. So that sort of thing differentiates how people teach. So that's why it isn't just having a good coach, but having the right kind of coach. The coach that will do what you need, not necessarily what you want. That's pretty crucial. Again, money spent on coaching is money well spent. Now, like, recently here in Melbourne, we had like Tom Clum come down. I didn't go to that one. I didn't know about it. But we had Joel Turner, and I didn't know about it either until someone told me. It's like, hey, come in. $350, which is like 500. No, it's about like 300 to 75 US, I think. But well worth it. Like, we didn't do much shooting, but just to sit in a seminar and listen to Joel kick my ass of my shooting form was worth it. Because they see through you. It doesn't matter what there's no right answer. It's kind of like, how do you shoot? I do this. Well, what is wrong? What if it's wrong? Oh my god. That's that sort of thing. Absolutely worth it. Like, find a good coach. I mean, I'm not saying there are bad coaches, because there are, but I'm saying, like, there are some people who are set in their ways and find it very hard to be flexible. But the really good coaches adapt to do what you need. So, a little rant there, but, find yourself a good coach. If it's not at your club, look at someone you trust. Like, even online coaching can be worth it. It can be difficult because you gotta set a video feed and do it like set times. But if you're willing and they're willing, do it. What I'm doing here is like a watered down version of what coaches do. People make their careers out of it. I'm just a high school teacher, so this is what I do in my spare time when I have a nosebleed. But absolutely. All right, I think we are kind of winding down, and that we're around the 2-hour mark, which is kind of on par with what we normally do. We have like 1 hour sessions and 1 hour chill, but hopefully that has conveyed enough educational value. I know these are pretty weird time slots. We normally do this a little later. Any fee for form check? No, just send it. I don't take fees. Just spread the words and the love. Bundimas, yes, for free. The email's in my YouTube channel, but I'll put it in the thing right now, so feel free to share there, or Facebook, Instagram. I'm obviously going to do it this stream because we're finishing up now, but just send your stuff in. Even if I don't call the forms, just send it in, because that way I know I've got like 3, 4, 5 videos lined up. If I've got like 5 videos already sent in, I'll just do live stream like right away, like in the following weekend, because there's no point waiting for it. But yeah, send it in. No fee for this. This is just me kind of like roasting you and just giving you advice on what I can. I'm not here to replace your coach. I'm here to kind of add to your education, give you insight, and that's kind of what I do. All right, I am running out of gas, I think. I've got blood in my throat, so I probably want to clear that. Thanks for watching, everybody. It's been a long time. Hope you enjoyed this. Lots of educational value, and thanks to our volunteers for learning. It's it's Uncle Gal roast, right? I did have a plan for Uncle Gal, but I haven't. I had my whole thing grown out. I forgot to do it. I was too sick. Like Uncle Gal watches viral YouTube videos. So that's our next topic. But that was fun. By the way, Justin Bar watched it. He's been offline for the last year and a half because of his kids. So I said, hey Justin, have you seen this? And he loved it. He loved it. It's like Uncle Roger archery. He actually loved it. Yeah, cool. Kinetic. Yep, nice to see you too. Yes, it's not to be back. It's been a pretty rough couple of 3-4 years. I'm still pretty sick now, so I've been busy coaching. I haven't shot my Olympic bow for 3 years now, but I still coach a lot, and it's more so what we're doing here. So that's pretty much it. Oh, that was your thread. That's it. Oh, that's really good. Something I didn't know in that thread, by the way, was females can have shorter fingers, by the way. So the finger might be off because it is a little short. Not everyone does it that way, but yeah, there was a really good analysis. It's a very good question. Not many people nitpick things like that, and the question is, I liked how it was phrased as, why do they do this? Not are they wrong, but why do they do this? And unfortunately, some people who do the online comments go, oh, it's wrong because of this reason. Oh, why is a string in their face? It's wrong. Ask why rather than what, and that's kind of the question there. Might be something to do later on. Yeah, Justin Ma is he's underrated. He's one of the most instrumental figures in reviving Chinese archery specifically. But what he's done is amazing. I think he's underrated. Yeah, he's busy with family, so it's under the radar. But his resources are immeasurably useful. I'm a tiny facsimile. I don't even practice Chinese art. I just pretend I do. But when I teach it, people also get so passionate about it. So. Absolutely amazing to see. Anyway, it is our 2-hour mark. Thanks for hanging around, people. We don't normally stream this time, so it's just me chilling. But we normally stream normally 5 hours after this point on a weekend. But this is my one time I have off, and I'm recovering from the illness. So hopefully, we make a comeback. Videos are in the pipeline, yes, of course. But yeah, just getting time and being able to walk helps a lot. Just saying, we'll get there eventually. But that is it. Thanks all for tuning in. Hope you all stay safe. And if you are interested in joining our next stream, feel free to send in videos well in advance. So that way we have plenty of material to work with. Anyway, thank you everybody. Stay safe where you are. And hopefully we'll see you all next time.